SEO this week. Hey everyone, welcome. Our LSI keywords. LSI keywords. LSI keywords. Are they a thing? I don't know. Let's get into it. All right, welcome to another episode of SEO this week. This is going to be a short one. Don't really have a lot to go over in regards to the website and some of the stuff that's going on over there. I do have one article I think is pretty interesting. I think you guys will enjoy, and it brings a lot of questions up about 302s and some of the things you can do with those, and some different methods to test out and see. I mean, if does it work, and you're gonna get some stuff or some power out of them, etc. Which I think is neat. But really, the big topic this week is because of the lack of news. Really, is LSI keywords, and are LSI keywords a search engine ranking factor? And it's a conversation that's probably been going on. I mean, geez, since LSI keywords and some SEO, smart SEO, picked up on that and read it and says, "Oh, I wonder." And so I wanted to dig into it a little bit and just kind of actually even show you like where the hell is this coming from, because not really a whole lot of people are talking about LSI keywords, right? I mean, I can't remember the last conversation I legit had about, hey, are LSI keywords ranking factor? And they just sort of just showed up. The whole topic just showed up in Twitter, showed up in Facebook. I mean, I gaslit a little bit based off of what Twitter and what old what a prominent SEO, I guess he's an SEO, has been doing to people's reputations just based off of his whether disagreement or just disagreement or jealousy. I'm going to lean towards jealousy about other people's success. And so he latched on to this LSI keywords concept. And so I want to dig into it a little bit, just kind of show you my opinion of it, what I think is really the factor, if you even want to call it loosely that, and then how to leverage that a little bit more. Just some tools maybe you can choose to leverage things a little bit more. But I doubt I'll really be adding a whole lot towards the conversation of is it a factor or is it not, right? Because we just don't know. And there's the only way to prove that LSI is a factor specifically is to do some definitions and all that stuff. So I'll get into it some more. I don't want to jump too far ahead because I'll screw up my timeline here. Let me share the screen here real quick. Show your screen. There you go. I had to pick the right one. All right. So again, SEO this week. Here's the site. It's still the same. And I'll dig into that a little bit. But this is the article. I think I posted two, but I didn't really want to go over this again. And maybe I didn't do the PDF content as indexed. I wasn't entirely sure. So you guys can check that out. But for sure, this is a new one. And really, it's that 302s don't work in reverse. So if you know that this concept is you buy a domain and you don't have any plans for it right now, and so you can, but you have a method to build backlinks, for example. So you want to build some backlinks to a domain, get it ready for a new project. Maybe you bought the domain and now you're building the website. You don't want to put the website on the domain and make it all live and do it in front of people. So you just buy the domain and then 301 it or 302 it to a authority website. When this first came out, I think a lot of people are actually using specific pages on Wikipedia. So just to keep it general, let's say you're doing a a website on latent semantic analysis, for example, latent semantic indexing, that kind of stuff, you would buy your domain and then redirect it to this page. And the theory was that if I did that, I would essentially build the trust of the domain, and pull that backwards from Wikipedia. Now, obviously, I wouldn't make a Wikipedia type authority in whatever metric you want to use, DR, UR, whatever. That metric wouldn't pass back, but it would sort of create some trust. You would trust by association is the theory. And someone asked that, it was Mike Blazer on Twitter. He asked John if it indeed worked that way, and John said no, that it's not pulling back the authority from the other one. As a matter of fact, he said it worked like a canonical, which is pretty interesting to me. So I think that the real test here is, if you do that, if you buy a domain and you redirect it to the authority site and you build links to it, and then you pull it off and put your new website out, will that give your website some added boost? And the problem with testing is, how do we say that it's the authority of the site versus the quality of the backlinks that we built? So if I built 100 backlinks to this new website and it was redirected to Wikipedia, and I was building really good backlinks, like, there's no way to discern if the value of the authority that was passed back to the 302 through the 302 or 301 to my new domain would is actually there. Or am I getting rankings now because I have 100 backlinks, or am I getting the rankings I got because I was linking to Wikipedia? And there's no way to prove. There's absolutely no way to prove that. I don't even know that a Google engineer would be able to say that would work. I would argue that, just based off of the lack of being able to prove it one way or the other, I mean, it's something that you could try to do, and maybe it inherently increases the trust value of your backlink profile. But at the end of the day, it's still completely a guess, and that's really a lot of the problem with link building tests. It's guesses, right? And there's 1.8 billion websites, and they all have their own score, authority, etc., that they pass on. So it's harder to test the value of backlinks on an individual basis, and it's even harder to make conclusive statements about page rank and page authority and all that stuff, especially when they took a lot of the tools away that helped us at least have some sort of measure. And now that the page rank toolbar is gone, well, I say now, but it's been gone for a while. But it being gone, I mean, what are you left with? So you had DA, domain authority from Moz, domain rank from Ahrefs, citation flow from Majestic, IR from SEO Power Suite, and I'm pretty sure that SEMrush has their own little metric too. So you got all these little metrics to help filter this stuff out and kind of discern link juice and link power, etc. But at the end of the day, it's all guesses, because John or Google took away the PageRank toolbar. And even then, with having access to the PageRank toolbar, we were still guessing. And we just had a metric from Google versus a metric from a third party, and the metric from Google wasn't even substantial enough to say, hey, we're gonna, this is really what's going on. I mean, we can make some educated guesses about it. It was like quantity versus quality and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, that was also a lot of guesses. So we need to kind of think that way when you're doing this and you're talking about this 302 thing. I would try it. I mean, I've done it before, but I built, in the case that I did it, I actually built some crap links that normally wouldn't move the needle significantly unless I had a whole bunch of them, to authority sites. And then when I pulled it back, the sites did fairly well. I mean, but again, it could have been the volume of backlinks that I had, and combining those all up versus switching it to an authority site. I mean, it's anybody's guess, but if you got a domain and just sitting there, I would try it out. Even maybe a cool test would be not building backlinks to the new domain at all, but find a page on an authority website that doesn't have any backlinks to it. 301 or 302. 302 is probably better for this test, but 302, your new domain to the page on the authority site with no backlinks, and then build backlinks to the page on the authority site and see what happens to the metrics of your 302. See if it goes up or down, or etc. I'm going to bet that it stays the same. It doesn't go up because it's not directly pointed to the new domain. But then you can throw a page on it, even a test page, and just see how quickly it pops up, or if it pops up at all. Maybe there's some inherent trespass backwards, but I'm not expecting that to be the case. But I would check it out. I mean, it might be worthwhile. Another thing you can do is build your backlinks through a 301 redirect to the authority page, like on a link shortener that allows you to change. So you build all these 30 or 301 redirects to a Wikipedia page, and then transfer those 301s to your new domain and see what happens to you. So that would be an interesting link building test, just to see if it pays off for you in the long run. But there'll be no way to definitively say that that's a ranking factor, as it were. All right, so let's get on with this. I'm gonna get on with this, I think. Yeah, because on the site build, I really haven't done anything. I think I got this one up. I didn't do I think I put the schema in there. I don't remember. And I got 3 more episodes I got to put up, and I'm going to rewrite the schema in Rank Gear. And I'll touch a little bit on Rank Gear here in a little bit, but other than that, I didn't do any work. Oh, I also took the dates and the author URLs off of here, because the way that those were being built, it was actually creating an author, what is that, archive, and I didn't want that because it's essentially the same thing as this page, right? So I removed the author archive and I removed the date archives, and I pulled them off of here, and I think it works. Could I go and add the dates? I was debating it, like in the articles. Do I want to? Because right now, the way I have the pages built, I'll show you this section here real quick. This byline section here, I'm pasting that in every time. It's not in the templates. So I was thinking maybe add the dates into the byline, but do it manually so I don't create a date archive. I think I have those disabled. I'll have to double check again, but I don't want the archive. So I don't want the tag archive, the category archive, author and dates. Don't want them. So I think I'm gonna put that stuff in here manually, and make that part of my workflow. But we'll see how that goes. And then I can do the date stuff inside of the schema when we start writing the author or the news article schema, and showing you guys how to pull that off. So, but that's the only thing that I've done on the site. So the site update is complete. All right, let's get on with this. So LSI, there's a couple of concepts. One is latent semantic indexing, and you saw that over here. It's the indexing and retrieval method that uses mathematical techniques called singular valuable singular value decomposition. And it's to identify patterns in the relationship between terms and concepts contained in an unstructured citation of collection of text. So a paragraph. And basically the relationships between the terms and concepts in a text. So mapped to memory. Let's see if we can find a good relationship here. Here you go. So car, a vehicle, right? So terms and relationship could be car. Let's see, the bottle could be a vehicle, a truck. No, not so much. Car, truck, flower. I mean, you take these concepts and you're looking at different words and you're wondering, how do I form the topic? And latent semantic indexing is the math behind doing that and trying to see if you can kind of formulate topics with this latent semantic indexing process. However, it has been shown in testing that latent semantic indexing is not being used by Google. And the reason is it just takes too much. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff going back, and it's pushing back the how does it go? You can't really apply it relevantly to a lot of documents in a short period of time in order to create search results. The processing time and this whole method is just insane. And so the mathematics behind it just kind of leaves it unuseful to Google. It's just not something that you can do with Google. You can do small numbers of pages, etc., but when you're trying to index and categorize 1.8 billion web pages, latent semantic indexing does not do it for you. Next, we get to LSI keywords. And I want to show you the definition of LSI keywords. And we can even do LSI terms too. Is words or phrases that Google sees as semantic related to the topic. Now, the big argument these days is this true? Google sees a semantic related to the topic. Like, is Google using LSI keywords? John Mueller has gone on record saying, no, we don't have a concept of LSI keywords. Now, I find that LSI keywords, the concept of LSI keywords is a little bit, I mean, that's kind of sketchy, right? When John says we don't have a concept of something, it's playing on word games again. And we've talked about word games in other episodes. Like, oh, well, we're not using the concept of LSI keywords, but there's some similarity to something that we are doing, and I just can't tell you what that is because it's close to what LSI keywords are being described, right? So we kind of look at this and go, all right, we know that Google says they're not using LSI keywords, but perhaps they're using something like it. And I want to open this article, and I want to open this article right here because these two are really what are bringing us back. And then I'll open this tool as well. And let's see here. I'm going to sign into this thing. Let me see. I'm going to sign into it because oh, come on. All right, I had to do that. Okay, back to showing the screen. All right, so latent semantic indexing keywords are conceptual concepts related to search engines and deeply understand content on a web page. And here's another one. People say that LSI keywords have the power. Is that true? Is it a myth? Let's scroll down to here. What is keywords and phrases that Google uses to semantic related topic community? So that's copy pasted out of the definition that we saw, right? Essentially, there's no such thing. And anyone who tells you different. So there's no such thing in the way that Google uses it, right? So, or in the way that this is described, this description right here, there's no such thing as LSI keywords, which isn't true. It's a concept. And what I mean by that is we have the academic definition of latent semantic indexing, and now we have an SEO concept that was born off of the idea behind latent semantic indexing called LSI keywords. And the concept is not necessarily even directly related to the academic theory of latent semantic indexing. The U.S. military uses latent semantic indexing, by the way. But in regards to this, it's a concept. The LSI keywords is a concept of an SEO optimization strategy, or the term used for a concept of the SEO optimization strategy, not a ranking factor. The SEO optimization strategy. So it's different than saying links are a ranking factor. We know that links are indeed a ranking factor. Link building is the SEO strategy. LSI keywords is the SEO strategy for content optimization, right? So we're there. The reason that this all came back is Backlinko. Brian Dean has this article. Are LSI keywords important? And if you remember last week, looking at the news, it was kind of a big deal. Brian Dean sold Backlinko to SEMrush for a currently undisclosed amount of money, though it was indicated it was multi-millions. So you can say at least $2 million for this website and the training and everything behind it. And Brian will be working part-time for SEMrush on their training stuff. And as kind of typical in our industry, people just like be bringing people down. So enter Bill Slawski. And this, I don't know who this is, but Bill Slawski jumped in and they honed in on LSI keywords. And they decided, hey, we're going to just attack Brian Dean. And he even took it so far as to say he's just teaching a method of ripping off someone's copyright with the skyscraper method, which, everyone knows who's ever employed that method is actually really, really good. And basically the intent is find someone else's content and rewrite that content and put it and dive deeper into that topic. So here's Bill Slawski, and him and whoever this other guy are, they're salty because Brian Dean is multi-millions and they're still working at their little agencies being paid employees. But they feel smart about themselves because they have this content that says LSI, latent semantic indexing, is not a ranking factor. It is not. Latent semantic indexing is not a ranking factor. LSI keywords are not a ranking factor. LSI keywords are a ranking strategy, and we've tested it. So a lot of the bill here is, I have seen no proof that LSI keywords is a ranking factor. Well, I say, Bill, join SIA or, join the SEO intelligence agency. You can go to SEOintel.com and sign up. But we have tests. So LSI keywords, LSI versus keywords. That test was done. Latent semantic indexing is a ranking factor. It was done. It proved that it was. Both of those tests proved that it was. And then we scroll down to even some more recent tests. Does LSI affect rank? It proved that it did. Continues growing down. Does LSI proximity affect rank? That's basically, let's say you wrote about apple pie, and then so you put the LSI terms next to your primary keyword. That's essentially what that test was. That test worked out in the positive. And then I think that was the last one that was done. And that was in 2019. That was the last one. So we were showing in SIA 2019, 2018, 2016 and 2016. So we're showing all those years that that LSI, the strategy of LSI keywords, actually still worked. Again, I didn't say that LSI was a ranking factor. I said that LSI is a ranking strategy. And by implementing this strategy to form your topics, you're actually going to rank higher. Now, here's where it gets cool. A lot of these people that say are so definitive, LSI is not a ranking factor, and they're right. It's not a ranking factor. It's a ranking strategy. They talk a lot about entities and semantic relationships with words and all that stuff. And at the end of the day, LSI is doing the exact same thing. Entities, as we know them today, persons, place, things, events, are or have always been inherently part of LSI. So you can open up a tool like nTopic. What's the other one? I found the stupid name and I was signed up for it forever and I forgot. Like right just now, it's not Text Mechanic. Text. What is it? Oh, no, it's not Text Expander. Texttools.net. The TF-IDF tool in the web page auditor inside of SEO Power Suite's website auditor. They have a TF-IDF thing, same concept. They have there's a tool in Cora that brings out LSI, essentially the same concept. And basically, what it's doing is looking at term frequency and comparing it with the term frequency of the other documents and saying these are the words that you need to have in your thing, right? That's what LSI has been. That's what LSI keywords have always been for a long time. And enter TextRaiser, ClearScope, Surfer, Cognitive SEO, SEM Rush. Am I missing anyone? Page Optimizer Pro. Enter all those tools that are using the Google NLP API to identify semantic relationships with the content. They're identifying topics, ergo entities inside of your content, and they're saying, and all those tools are advising you that, hey, look, we found this entity in these pages. You should probably be addressing it in yours. That is LSI keywords. You are doing LSI keywords, and you've been doing it. If you've been using any of those tools, you've been doing it automatically. You've been using LSI. And then if you add in one other thing, and that is if you write naturally, you're going to use a lot of the LSI keywords all by yourself. So a lot of us don't even think about LSI anymore. As a matter of fact, I can't remember the last time anyone had a serious conversation about LSI, in particular because we're really focusing on the entity stuff. We glanced over the general LSI terms inside of our content. We wrote naturally, and then we optimized with the entities. So we optimized with what Tychobitis corn is super LSI, the entities, right? And that made it a much better conversation. So are LSI keywords a ranking factor? Let's recap. No, they're not a ranking factor. The strategy of implementing LSI keywords, which is different from latent semantic indexing, same acronym, different meaning, is to optimize the pages by adding words that are semantically relevant to your topic to better form that topic so that you can help the machine, the math, and the algorithm understand the purpose of the page. Ergo, the quality is better, it's more on target, and you can rank for pages better. It's the same thing you're doing with Surfer, Cognitive SEO, and all those others. When you're using entities, you're just more focused on entities, the persons, place, things, and events, than you are on the general terms that are going inside of your content. And that's where LSI came from, is adding the general terms. We didn't have a concept of entities in our head back then, and now we do. For the academics, LSI, latent semantic indexing keywords don't exist. Correct. They don't. I mean, I think even in um, Backlinko, when Brian used latent semantic indexing, I think he just gave the academics the just exactly what they needed in order to pounce on him, and make an argument that he's wrong. But I mean, from where I sit, is his detractors are working at agencies being paid by other people to do their job. And Backlinko, Brian Dean specifically, build a website that has probably the least amount of pages for a site that has the results and the traffic that they do, that I've seen in quite some time. He dominated the SEO market. People are still following him to this day, trying to duplicate his successes, and he sold his business for multi-millions of dollars. So Bill Selosky and the detractors that are jumping on latent semantic indexing and latent semantic keywords, or LSI keywords, can probably get bent as far as Brian Dean is concerned. And he's going to be laughing all the way to the bank while these poor schleps are running around reading patents and pretending that they're really smart. And Bill Slosky may be really smart. How do I know? But he's not smart enough to, sell his business for millions of dollars to a private company or a public company now. And then also arrange a deal where he gets continually paid on top of that, for working part-time. Literally, the dude said he's not working a whole lot. He's going to literally do part-time work. So I think that's awesome. Congratulations to Brian Dean. Congratulations to all you triggered fellows who sit on Facebook and Twitters, and bash people who are successful because he's kicking ass, and you're still on Twitter crying about whether LSI keywords is a ranking factor. So I'd like to hear your thoughts. Put your thoughts in the comments. And let me know what you think. Do you think LSI keywords is a ranking factor? Do you think latent semantic indexing is a ranking factor? And what are your thoughts on the latent or LSI keywords optimization strategy, from the past, and how it's reshaped into what it is today? And I don't see any questions or anything like that. So we're going to cut the episode short. Value your time. And I'll see you guys next week.